And the nations have been watching the U.S. do that, so now they all gonna team up. 2 Ezra 15, verse 28 again. Behold, an horrible vision, and the appearance thereof from the east, where the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots. The Islamic Brotherhood. They're going to come together. And the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon earth, that all they which hear them may fear and tremble. Also, the Carmanians, which is them Iranians, their biblical nationality goes back to Elam. They are the East Indies according to the Bible. Them Arabs are forefather was Ishmael. They Ishmaelites. The Carmanians are Elamites, but they all up under that same religion of Islam, and they're gonna come to the defense of their brother via one, possibly via two. I mean, some of the Islamic doctrine, from what I've heard, they're supposed to be brotherly to each other. I'm gonna bring that information out. Y'all real soon. But they all up under that Islamic banner. They got family ties together. They got trade agreements and things together. The U.S. is trying to bring in a new world order and take mineral resources and establish who they want to be alive and who they don't want to be alive. And them nations are not tolerant of that. That's why they're fighting back. That's why they're going to rise up to fight back. That's why Russia fighting hard. That's why China fighting hard. It says, where the nation of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots, and the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon earth, that all which hear them may fear and tremble. Also the Carmanians raging in wrath shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood. That's some Iranians. And with great power, Iran got great power. Iran is probably second on the list when it comes to, when it comes to missile strength. I think they're first. But when it comes to power in general, over there in the, when it comes to all the other Arab countries, they number one. When it comes to when you put them up against Israel, they number two, because Israel got nuclear capabilities, but Iran got nuclear capabilities as well. They just don't have as many as Israel has. They missile. That's why they eventually came out with Iran has to get rid of their missiles and things like that. They made that a new stipulation, and the Supreme Leader wasn't having that. We knew that, should have known that was gonna come. All that damage they done did from shooting missiles over there, showing that their defense shields ain't worth shit compared to their missiles, and they ain't even used their top missiles. And it says, also, and the Carmanians raging in wrath shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood, and with great power shall they come and join battle with them. They're going to join battle with the Arabs to fight against the USA, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians, which is America. They're going to waste a portion of the land of America. The whole land not going to be destroyed. What are they going to use to waste a portion? A nuclear missile. It says, and then shall the dragons have the upper hand of some Arabs, remembering their nature as wild men. And if they shall turn themselves conspiring together in great power to persecute them, And from the land of the Assyrians shall the enemy besiege them. They're going to shoot missiles on America as well. And consume some of them. And in their hosts shall be fear and dread and strife among their kings. Right. Verse 34. See, because this is the prophecy that comes right after that battle gets extremely hot over there. That's why I said we're waiting for Russia's response. You know China gonna say something. You know North Korea gonna say something and back Russia for sure. They had war with Ukraine together. You know. This is verse 34. Behold, clouds from the east and from the north unto the south, and they are very horrible to look upon, full of wrath and storm. Them clouds represent the so-called UFOs, the chariots of the nation of Israel. It ain't no coincidence how all this stuff is just falling in line. Before this strike happened, you just had Obama come out and say he believed in UFOs. I mean, aliens. They're real, which includes UFOs. Then you had Trump come out and say, well, that's classified, but I might save him by unclassifying the documentation. But what the fuck? Like, another form of distraction. Who gives a fuck? Why? Because whether it's classified and whether they exist, I mean, not saying whether they exist or not, but they've been showing up. Now let's see if your classified documentation come out and say that it's men up in there who are Israelites from the tribe of Judah. And those are our people, you black status Native Americans, y'all all the same people. Let's see if your classified documents say that shit. Other than that, everybody already fucking know. Alright. It says, yeah. 34, behold, clouds from the east and from the north and unto the south, and they are very horrible to look upon, full of wrath and storm. They coming to kill. When you see the spirit of the chariots, when they in battle, I'm familiar with this word horrible. They terrible, like the Lord. The Lord, I don't know if he gave, look, the Lord gave brother, horrible, causing or likely to cause horror, shocking, marked by the arousal of painful and intense fear, dread, dismay, or aversion, horrible to look upon. It's going to be so much fear and a man from seeing these things that people probably going to drop dead and catch heart attacks. Yeah, well, the scriptures say that from seeing the things that's coming upon America, they shall perish. I mean, they shall have heart attacks from fear. The Lord will show you that spirit. I've witnessed the horribleness of the chariots as the testimonies, showing that spirit of dread and horror and the power that come with it. The Lord is revealing this power unto his prophets, man, and he giving us that same strength in the face of all of our enemies. That's why I'm putting it out there. It ain't to boast, but shit. What it say? What's boasting in the Lord? You're supposed to boast that the Lord is giving you understanding on how he deal. We gonna have that same spirit put on us. Slack, I didn't fucking want to bump it. Nobody. Nothing about this area, no way. Yeah, we're gonna have that spirit put upon us. Hold on. Oh, my thing is caught in it. Shit. Yeah. Because these people think that they're gonna be able to come up against some brothers are gonna pass away, but they think they're gonna be able to do what they want to do to the prophets, man. See, the only spirit that's gonna survive these times is those who have the spirit of the Lord on them. And more and more, I'm starting to understand more and more what that means through experiences. It's like you can't be touched. It's like people afraid to try you. What it say? The scriptures say, roughly paraphrasing. Let me get it real fast, and then I'm gonna jump back on topic. This is Luke chapter 10, verse 19. Behold, I give unto you power to tread on serpents and scorpions, spiritual power, and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall be by any means hurt you. Right? Notwithstanding, in this rejoice not that the spirits are subject unto you. Right? We got control of the spirits, man. That's the form of having spiritual power. But rather rejoice because your names are written in heaven. That's why we're supposed to be rejoicing, though. That our name is written in heaven. Yeah, so going back to what I was saying, man. We're gonna be given power to defend ourselves, to keep the enemy back, things like that. Control. We're gonna have power. We're gonna have power to control the demons. Remember, was it Paul that was bitten by a serpent and didn't die? We're not gonna be able to die no more. And that's before we go into the kingdom of heaven, man. All right, let me get back to this second Ezra. Second Ezra 15 and 34. Behold, clouds from the east and from the north unto the south, and they are very horrible to look upon, full of wrath and storm. They shall smite upon one upon another, and they shall smite down a great multitude of stars upon the earth. That's them killing people. You know how when Jake fight and they jump at somebody, and they all swinging over each other to beat the person up, and then sometimes they be hitting each other and shit, bumping into each other. That's how the chariots is gonna be upon you people. They'll be bumping each other trying to kill you people. It says, 2 Ezra 15:35, they shall smite one upon another, and they shall smite down a great multitude of stars upon the earth, even their own star, and blood shall be from the sword unto the bellies, and blood everywhere. And dung of men unto the camel's hoof, people will be shitting themselves. And there shall be great fearfulness and trembling upon earth, and they that see the wrath shall be afraid, and trembling shall come upon them. Yeah, so yeah, man, yeah, that's the time we living in. The end of the world, or the end of Esau's kingdom, is in these times now. This World War III Battle of Armageddon ain't taking place for nothing. Them so-called chairs and UFOs ain't showing up for nothing. Everything is lining up like how it's supposed to be. So, with that being said, we still got to figure out. We still looking to see what's going to happen with America. You know. But before I go and change this topic, because the Russians finna do something, they gonna do something eventually. The Arabs, they gonna do something. But America's own allies is gonna do something. When I watched the news clipping today, it didn't say what exactly global leaders got up and said something, but lately all of them have been saying something about how the U.S. is moving. So, all right, this is on. Give me a second. Okay. All right, Slocky, you got one. It says, here's what world leaders are saying about the U.S.-led attack on Iran. It says governments around the world urge restraint after the United States and Israel launched a major assault and Iran vowed retaliation. Leaders in Europe and around the world on Saturday urged all sides to exercise restraint after the United States and Israel launched a major attack on Iran. Although some officials backed the American-led campaign, President Trump said the attack was intended to eliminate Iran's nuclear program and lead to a change in government. After several rounds of nuclear talks involving the two sides failed to reach a deal, Iran's foreign ministry asked the United Nations Secretary Council to take immediate action to confront the violation of international peace and security. So they keep violating the laws. Here's what other governments are saying. Britain. The British government said it had not participated in the strikes and did not want to see further escalation into a wider regional conflict. It added that it had recently enhanced its defensive capabilities in the Middle East and that its immediate priority was the safety of British citizens in the region. Iran must never be allowed to develop a nuclear weapon, and that is why we have continually supported efforts to reach a negotiated solution, the government said in a statement. Germany. A government spokesperson said in a statement that Germany had been informed by Israel in advance of the strikes. Chancellor Friedrich Merz is monitoring the development closely and is in close coordination with European partners. The statement said Mr. Merz is scheduled to meet Mr. Trump in Washington next week. This is France. It says President Emmanuel Macron called for the attacks to stop and asked for a meeting of the Secretary Council. He also wrote that the Iranian leadership must understand that it now has no option than to engage in good faith negotiations over its nuclear program, and added that the Iranian people must also be able to build their future freely. Right, and that's what they used, real quick, that's what they used to help bring about the strikes. The people, all your people feel this way towards you, that way towards you, and that's how they conquer nations, by getting the people to rise up against their government. Trump came out and publicly said it. That's one of them covert tactics that they use, and Trump just came out and said it. That's how you know they was tired. But even with that being said, not only did they want to attack the nuclear program, Israel brought about their missile program. No, y'all got to disable y'all missile program too. We want y'all disarmed, like how they trying to do Hezbollah, like how they trying to do the United States citizens. That's an attack on people's sovereignty. But I read in another article that, you got some people outraged. Hopefully it's in this article. But thus far, this is just people that's a part of the European Union, but their own outlets. See, it's good that I'm reading this too, because even though they were informed and got ties with the U.S. and backed the U.S., the Lord ruleth in the kingdom of men. The Lord changes the king's heart. Men's goings after the Lord. All these people that are speaking in defense of America don't turn against America. This is Australia. It says Prime Minister Anthony Albanese was among the few leaders who did not publicly urge restraint. We support the United States acting to prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon and to prevent Iran continuing to threaten international peace and security. He said in a statement, Iran has been a destabilizing force for decades and cited 2 recent terrorist attacks in Australia that the government said were directed by an arm of the Iranian military, which that's a lie. Iran don't want them to bring in that new world order, just like the Russians don't want them to bring in that new world order. That's what it's really about. Canada, Prime Minister Mark Carney and his Foreign Minister Anita Anand backed the American action. Canada supports the United States acting to prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon and to prevent its regime from further threatening international peace and security. Right, they threaten the new world order. We the next threat. So go ahead and get ready to try to strike us, motherfucker. Sad note, Salaka. It says, they said in a statement, okay. It says European Union. Kaja Kallas, the top EU diplomat, said that she had spoken to Israel's foreign minister and to other officials in the region and was coordinating closely with Arab partners to explore diplomatic paths. The EU's top executive, Ursula von der Leyen, and its top political leader, Antonio Costa, wrote in a joint statement that it was crucial to prevent any action that could further escalate tensions or undermine the global non-proliferation regime. Spain, Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez condemned the attacks by the United States and Israel, calling them an escalation. He also condemned Iran's government. We cannot afford another prolonged and devastating war in the Middle East, he wrote. Sweden Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson called for restraint but also condemned Iran for killing its own citizens, and an apparent reference to protests in January that were violently crushed by the government. He said that Iran's support for terrorist groups has long been destabilizing and that it should never be allowed to develop nuclear weapons. Right. So the U.S. tried to, with that being said, the U.S. tried to use their tactics. That's why he just came out and publicly said it. The U.S. tried to use their tactics to destabilize the government or Iran and have their own people overthrow Iran, but it didn't work. The Iranian regime killed off anybody who opposed, because all they know is a setup. They know that's how these nations are coming down.